Hello, I'm Ellen Bintz coming today from Wheaton, Illinois in the USA. Welcome to Impact, a podcast about how we can each bring about real change in the world and getting practical in making that happen.
And hello, I'm Clive Johnson coming today from Leigh-on-Sea in the UK, and welcome to a new year as we wish you a very happy and peaceful, it's certainly going to be interesting, I'm sure we can guarantee that, 12 months to come. A special welcome if you're listening for the first time, and a big thank you to our new subscribers. Each week we look at one aspect of how we can connect our hearts to offer healing for others with our collective intention, prayers and meditation, and go behind the headlines of a critical happening in our world that needs our attention right now.
In today's episode, we take one of these regular deep dives to more fully understand and tune in with something many of us may know only a little about and see where we might hone in with our prayers and intentions. And as we record, it's January 7th, 2026.
Yep, we are 1 week in already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And during that time, actually, when I was doing my vigil, I think I mentioned last time over New Year, which was between the first sunrise, mainland sunrise, and the last. And along the way, occasionally I was dropping in, I was finding out for myself, and I was interested to know how far the Earth had traveled around the sun on its solar orbit, which varies. Actually, we've just passed the time when the Earth is closest to the sun, just a few days ago. So we are traveling faster, as it were, around the sun than normal. And in that time, just over a day, we traveled 2 million, or I think it was just over 2 million miles.
Wow.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it?
It is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And we don't feel a thing.
We don't. So that is 4 return trips to the moon. At
Wow.
least. Quite extraordinary.
Yes.
So we've already gone, what? If we multiply that by, again, probably not quite 2 because we're going a bit slower now, but there we are, 50 million miles already, probably. Now, before we dive into today's topic, we want to invite you into a very simple exercise. Right now, apart from if you're driving, perhaps, wherever you are, just pause for a moment. Notice 3 things. What do you see in front of you? What do you feel in your body? Maybe you're noticing the weight of your body in your chair, or how your feet are resting on the ground. And what's the quality of this exact moment? Not yesterday, not in 5 minutes, not 7 days ago or in 7 days' time, right now. This is the practice we're exploring today, presence. It sounds so simple, but can be hard to put into regular practice, as many of us know. But we believe it's very important, and especially right now, with so much change in our world, challenging all of us to stay grounded. Just before we came on, we were talking about a lot of things we could so well have covered today as well, and I'm sure we'll come back and look at some of the big things happening in the geopolitics of our world in the next week or two. But today, grounding is the theme for this year's Global Healing Response, and this quarter, GHR's invitation is to focus especially on the importance of being present.
So, what is presence? It's deceptively straightforward. I'd like to say it's one of those things that's simple but profound. It's the act of fully showing up for the only moment that actually exists, now. It's noticing where we are, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's asking ourselves, what is true right now? How do I actually feel? What's really happening in this breath, this conversation, this task? We live in an age of extraordinary distraction, and our minds wander about 47% of the day. We're scrolling through the past, regrets, memories, what we should have done differently, or we're leaning into the future, anxiety about tomorrow, plans, worries, anticipation. And in this constant mental time traveling, something profound happens. We miss our lives. The Vietnamese Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, always someone whose wise words are welcome on this podcast, said something haunting. Quote, life is available only in the present moment, unquote. Not in our imagination of the future, not in our rehearsal of the past, but here and now in the very breath we're taking. When we practice presence, we're not trying to fix anything or achieve some special state. We're simply saying yes to what is. We notice the color of the sky. We feel the actual sensations in our body. We listen, truly listen, when someone is speaking. We taste our food. We notice that right now, in this moment, many of us are safe. Many of us have breath in our bodies. There is something miraculous in that if we're paying attention.
It's so easy, isn't it, just to ignore and not take a moment. I was thinking about that statistic, 47% of the mind is shut. I was thinking, my goodness, I am probably way beyond that. High 80s, the 90s, probably. My mind is off on its thought chains and fantasies and trying to fix the world or whatever is going on. It is hard. And that's why obviously being mindful, as we know, is so important. But I think just seizing those moments,
right,
not hesitating unless there's a real emergency. You've absolutely got to be somewhere quickly. One example that caused me to stop my car the other day was a sunset, beautiful sunset. I was driving along the Thames Estuary here, and it was just exactly the right moment. As it happened, the tide was in as well, which made it all the more special. And I noticed these gulls along a groin, one of the dividers that goes out to across the beach, just sitting there admiring the sun as far as I could tell it. So I went and joined them for a few moments, and it only had to be a few moments, really, just to be there in that moment. But even then, I have to confess, I had to take a photograph. I felt I want to take a photograph, I want to share this, put it on social media or whatever, or have it as a memory. And yeah, a reminder there. Well, don't make that the moment.
That is a great point.
Make the experience of being here yourself the moment.
Yes. Well, it's a conundrum, isn't it? And it's a fine line we walk because we want to learn from our past and we want to be prepared for what we have to do in the future. And yet that's not where we want to live. It's hard.
It is hard. It's definitely. And it's good to share as well. And, as well. But ultimately we have to live our experience, don't we? So what do we miss when we're not present? So let's be honest about this alternative. When our minds are scattered between past and future, we don't just miss pleasant moments. We also miss the richness of challenge itself. We miss information the difficulties are trying to teach us. We operate, as it were, on autopilot. And on autopilot, life becomes smaller. To quote Thich Nhat Hanh again, many people are alive but don't touch the miracle of being alive. When we're not present, anxiety flourishes. Anxiety, of course, lives in the future. It's our mind creating stories about what might happen, what we're not ready for, what could go wrong. But anxiety has no foothold in the present moment. We can't be anxious about something that's happening right now because we're too busy experiencing it. And similarly, depression sometimes roots itself in the past, in loss, in regret, in what should have been done differently. When we practice presence, we're not denying that these emotions exist. And particularly with depression, there is obviously the condition of manic depression there and the chemical things and so on go on. So it's not always dwelling on the past. We're simply not giving them the stage for a performance that lasts all day. That's really what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond our mental and emotional well-being, there's something more subtle at play. When we're not present, our relationships wither. We're with someone physically, but our minds are elsewhere. I'm sure Ellen can attest to that when we make these podcasts. Attest to my mind being elsewhere, I mean to say. Thich Nhat Hanh said, "The most precious gift we can offer anyone is our attention." Oh, wonderfully wise words. When mindfulness embraces those we love, they will bloom like flowers.
About the last time someone was truly present with you, really listening, not planning their response or interrupting you? How did that feel? That's presence. And many of us have largely stopped offering it, at least for all people at all times. We may listen, but still be busy thinking. We may check in with others, but neglect to check in with ourselves. In these and many other ways, being fully present means more than giving a nod to the current moment, circumstance, and company we're with. It means fully engaging with it. But here's where presence becomes not just an idea, but essential. Presence grounds us. To be grounded means to have a stable connection to reality. Grounded people are centered, emotionally stable, and present focused. They can handle stress effectively because they're not spinning stories about the future or drowning in the past. They're here.
Mm.
And might I add, that is the theme for the global healing response this year is grounding. And that's exactly why I chose it, this last paragraph, because I think we all want this and are striving for it. And so let's work together, right?
And wow, that's the point there as well. Just really coming home to me about being grounded means having this connection to what is real. Or if you prefer, if you have a faith tradition, you might talk about that as having a connection with God, the all. And it was just striking me, it chimes so well with the theme last year for Global Healing Response of authenticity.
Yeah, it's the continuation on.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Now, studies in mindfulness, which is really just presence with a gentle, non-judgmental quality, reveal remarkable benefits, including reduced anxiety and stress as our nervous system begins to calm. Our body knows the difference between real threat, what's happening now, and imagined threat in our mind. Presence allows us to observe our emotions without being swept away by them. We notice, I'm feeling angry, rather than becoming the anger. And that small gap between feeling and reaction makes a huge difference to how we continue to feel. Being mindful also helps sharpen our focus and brings clarity. A wandering mind is a distracted mind. When we keep returning to the present, our cognitive function strengthens. We make better decisions. We solve problems more creatively. And, crucially, being present and mindful brings us deeper resilience in the face of change. And this is what, obviously, the main theme is, isn't it, this year, about being grounded, being able to be resilient as well. This is what we sense is deeply needed right now. Life will change, that's guaranteed. Jobs will shift, relationships will evolve, our health will fluctuate. The only thing we have any real control over is how we show up to what's happening. When we're present, we're adaptable. We see what's actually in front of us, not what we're afraid of or what we hope for, or indeed hoped for. Such resilience seems vital for current times, not just for ourselves, but for all good women and men to stand strong while uncertainty, change, and challenge are having profound effects in the world in which we live.
The medic and meditator John Kabat-Zinn, who developed perhaps the Western world's best-known mindfulness-based approach to stress reduction, makes a striking observation. If you want to actually live a longer life, presence is the best medicine. Not because it adds years necessarily, but because presence expands the experience of time itself. Days become richer, moments become textured. We're not sleepwalking through our one wild and precious life, living only for past or hoped for future moments. We're not on a rush to get through our year to retirement or to our next breakaway. One of the most profound applications of presence is in navigating hardship. When we're in the middle of difficulty, grief, illness, uncertainty, loss, presence doesn't take the pain away, but it changes our relationship to it. Instead of suffering plus resistance, which is what creates so much of our anguish, we simply feel what's there. And that, paradoxically, is often easier to bear than the struggle against it.
Interesting, isn't it?
And yeah, there's one that's easier said than done.
Yeah, but it's certainly worth trying to practice. Yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking again, we've touched on this before, haven't we? But this sleepwalking and one again, we mentioned social media just now. My even standing in the sunset. Oh, I've got to get a photograph and put this on Facebook. My goodness, what a distraction that is from being present and being experiencing actually what's happening. Yes, there's a place for it, but let's make sure we manage that very, very carefully, really, so it doesn't become what becomes important and kind of take over. We kind of then start to curate a life, don't we? We kind of become performers. Right. And how am I going to show up on TikTok today or whatever, or with my 100,000 YouTube followers or...
Yes. No, I'd love to have 100,000 YouTube.
I know. But... I'm not talking about me.
It just, I mean, I think we could do a whole episode on the dilemma of, phone media consumption. Yeah. I mean, you go anywhere and you just see people on their phones.
Yeah.
That's a whole topic of its own.
Exactly.
But that is an example of the lack of presence with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, grounding and steadfastness in uncertain times. As we've said, to some extent, I guess we could say this almost any time, but it always feels as though this is particularly relevant right now, doesn't it? We live in times of genuine uncertainty. We were talking when we were about NATO earlier, but we'll get on to that some other time, I'm sure. Economies wobble, the news cycles create low-grade anxiety, relationships are complex, the future feels less predictable. Many of the deep themes we cover in this podcast, indeed, may at times overwhelm us. In this context, grounding becomes an anchor. We've mentioned this picture before, but it's a good one to return to in order to get a handle on what grounding is about. Think of a tree in a storm. A tree with shallow roots snaps. A tree with deep roots bends, perhaps loses some branches, but generally it remains standing. That rootedness is what presence offers. Grounding is the practice of anchoring ourselves to something solid. The earth beneath our feet, our Mother Earth, as many of us like to call her, our breath, our body, the sensations happening right now. And for those of us who establish strength in our spiritual authenticity, our ground of being, when we're grounded, we're not floating in abstraction. We're in contact with what's real. When we feel unstable, we need to create what the Nobel Prize-winning chemist Ilya Prigozhin calls islands of coherence in a sea of chaos. These islands aren't an escape from difficulty. They're stabilizing practices that help us maintain our center so we can navigate change with more grace.
And in our contemplative labyrinth activism trainings, we use this island of coherence in the sea of chaos because when we're present and when we're grounded, we do have an effect on others. and we can create bigger islands of coherence. And coherence is a big word for me. I know our listeners know that. So it's not just ourselves we're affecting, we are contributing to the peace in the world when we do this.
And actually talking about the training for contemplative labyrinth activism, which of course Alan is very heavily involved in, along with Chris Katzenau, who we've been delighted to have as a guest before. There's some new training coming up.
Yes.
Expanded training in February, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I must confess I've not looked at the detail of that yet, but we will put a link in the show notes. And you're involved with that, aren't you, Joelle?
Yes, Chris and I are teaching it together.
And it's going to be online, is that right?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, it's online. And the details are, at the Legacy Labyrinth Project website, which the link will lead you to. There's also an intro class at the end of January if you want to get a flavor of what the training would be. But it's going to be great. And, we teach this live for 10 hours and, the love and coherence and everything that we just hate leaving each other at the end of these 10 hours. So we're sure that's what's going to happen with this group too, along with learning and imploring people to take this practice into their communities is the goal. Give people the confidence to do that. So it should be very rich and experiential, along with a lot of great information. And hope you'll join us.
I attended the intro training, and certainly that was inspiring, and gave a lot to work with. So it's
good.
Directly relevant, of course, to everything we talk about in terms of intention holding. So
yes.
Check out the show notes and the link.
So in practice, this means noticing the support beneath us. Right now, there's something holding us. Gravity, a chair, the ground. That's not metaphorical. That's real, tangible, physical support. Returning to our breath. No matter what's uncertain, our breath continues. When everything else feels chaotic, our breath can be relied upon. And using our 5 senses as anchors. There's a practice some people do. See 5 things. Touch something. Notice 3 sounds. Smell something. Taste something. These aren't distractions from the difficult moment. They're a way of saying, I'm here in my body, in reality, right now. When we're grounded, we're more resilient. Not because we're invulnerable, but because we're rooted enough to weather the storm. And I love this metaphor of the tree because my friend Gary Peterson told me the story when the fires in California happened. They happened so fast that the trees survived because they were rooted. The destruction, the horror happened, went through the forest, but the trees were okay.
It's extraordinary.
And I thought, well, there's,
Well, that's extraordinary. How to practice presence then? The beauty of presence is that it doesn't require special circumstances. I was thinking there about the idea of taste something. It doesn't mean you have to be sitting down at a meal table. You can taste the air, can't you? You don't need a meditation cushion, although that can help. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need a sunset, for example. You just need to notice what's here. Here are some thoughts about practicing being present. As with everything, start by taking small, simple steps. Keep moving forward, and soon this practice should become a second nature. And we probably here are going to be telling grammata psychics a little bit. A lot of these things will be familiar to a lot of listeners, but I think it's always good just to remind ourselves to stop and say, well, I know this, but am I doing it? And have I lost this from my checklist kind of thing? Firstly, notice when you're absent. This is the hardest and most important step. We spend so much time not noticing that we're not present. So simply catch yourself. Oh, my mind is wandering to tomorrow's meeting. Or, I'm eating without tasting. That noticing is itself the beginning of presence. Secondly, anchor into your senses. Pick something, anything, and really look at it. A plant, the sky, your hand. Notice the colors, the textures, the details you'd usually miss. When you do this, your mind stops its chatter because it's too busy actually perceiving. I think it was Rudolf Steiner who recommended sitting with a plant every day, a house plant, and over months, and really getting into a relationship with it. A beautiful practice. I've only tried it over a few days. But,
I believe in that. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Next, practice mindful breathing. This is ancient, of course, and it works. Simply notice your breath coming in and going out. When, not if, your mind wanders, although who knows, there may be some that master that one, bring it back. No judgment. We know all this, don't we? The act of returning is the practice. Thich Nhat Hanh suggested, breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I smile. Those words were actually offered when I used to very regularly attend a morning labyrinth event, actually, where I first encountered the labyrinth in Brighton many years ago. And we used to always start with a little reading, the suggestion that people might want to take on to the labyrinth. And that one would come up very often, breathing in as you, I think we alternate a bit to think about as I take my next step or something like that. This idea of knowing that we are alive. Just that simple attention to the in and out flows of the breath is not only anchoring, but beautiful, giving us cause for wonder and gratitude. Fourthly, do one thing at a time, but fully. This is revolutionary in our multitasking culture. When you're washing dishes, wash the dishes. Really feel the water. Notice the temperature. See the soap bubbles. When you're listening to someone, listen. Don't plan your response or check your phone. That singular attention is presence. I was actually guilty of this yesterday. Usually I'm complaining at other people for spending too much time staring at their phone and bumping into you or whatever. And when they're crossing, I was actually, I don't know, it was only very brief. I come out of a coffee shop and I was looking at my phone and I bumped into someone. Well, it was only gentle. I think they saw me and gave me a little bit of a way, but no, they were very polite about it, and I apologized, of course. But my goodness, sometimes we have those wake up moments. What am I doing?
Yes. Yeah. Pulls you back. Yeah. Next, use the day as reminders. Set small bells or alerts on your phone, or use natural ones. Every time you see a red light, come back to your breath. Every time you transition from one room to another, pause and notice where you are. These aren't distractions, they're invitations home. And finally, create a simple daily ritual. It could be 2 minutes of sitting, a morning walk where you pay attention, 5 conscious breaths before a meal. Consistency matters more than duration, as practice will deepen with repetition. And here's the thing. Presence isn't a destination where you finally get it right. It's a returning. Again and again, your mind will wander. Again and again, you'll come back. That returning is the practice. And over time, you get better at noticing sooner. You spend more moments awake to living. We should say, too, that presence isn't positive thinking. It's not about forcing ourselves to be grateful or happy. Sometimes what's true right now is that you're afraid or tired or grieving or lonely. Presence says, okay, that's what's here. Let me look at it directly. When you can be present even to difficult emotions, when you can say, yes, I'm anxious and I can feel my feet on the ground, something shifts. The emotion doesn't disappear, but our relationship with it changes. We're no longer caught in it. We can hold it with some spaciousness. This is where presence becomes a form of compassion toward ourselves and toward others, including toward all the difficult moments that are part of every human life.
So, what does presence mean for us, especially as we move into a new year? What might we want to work on ourselves?
And I've noticed a few times lately, which I don't know why this has crept in, that I'm not listening very well to people. My mind is somewhere else. And sometimes I haven't even heard the words that they've said. I want to do a correction on that right away.
Yeah, That's a discipline, isn't it, really? I
Mm-hmm.
certainly relate to that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think very often it's because your mind is, for me, I think it's two things. I think it's because my mind is on the next thing very often. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
got that point. I'm going to jump in with a question or a point I want to make or whatever. And sometimes not being aware about why I want to ask that question or make that point, which may be, oh, I've got something clever to say.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
even there being mindful. But I think sometimes we just don't exercise, right? I don't exercise the quite intense attention that's needed, I think, to be really staying with what is being spoken, kind of feeling into it really and trying to relate to it. And I guess we need to do that if we're going to be able to hold intentions effectively as well. That's what the whole thing is about on one
Yes,
level.
good point.
Yeah, so it's a good discipline to work on. But I think some of the things we've mentioned here, and again, some of these will be kind of reminders to a lot of people, are just worth really keeping in mind. The one about mindfulness. When you notice your mind is distracted, don't, we'd say this so often, don't we, when we're in a meditation, guiding meditation, don't judge yourself. Just come back.
Mhm.
And sometimes it will seem that your mind has been wandering perhaps for the entire or most of the meditation, for example. And again, don't judge that. Just you've noticed this once. That's good. That's practice. Probably your judgment's not quite right anyway in terms of how much distraction you've had. But I think the other thing that's really come home to me, even as we've been speaking again, is just becoming clear. This link from last year around authenticity is so relevant.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Because if you're authentic, it's a little bit easier to ground yourself.
yes, yes,
If you're not authentic, you're not in the present moment probably. You are thinking ahead and you're thinking behind. So,
you are, and you're creating this idea of yourself or how you want to be. You
yes.
think you want to be
Yes.
seen by others, and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful link, that one. So where might we hone in with our intentions and prayers? So this is the point, as always, you might want to bookmark to come back to if you're not in a situation now where you feel you can spend some time holding intention with us. Just a few suggestions this time, but ones we suggest are important to spend proper time with and to take very seriously, and perhaps to remember as you go through the coming months. As always, we'll put a bookmark in the show notes for these as well. So take a moment just to allow yourself to become present, to let go of attention to what's going on outside. Maybe even you want to close your eyes, if temporarily, to help close out that distraction, and allowing as best you can your attention to move from the mind deep within your body as you center, as you ground. So some suggested topics for intentions. We will that there will be a widespread awakening and move to practice being present among our country's leaders and influencers. We ask that many will give examples through the words and actions of what it means to be grounded and present, including in listening to others' viewpoints without interruption or assumption, offering them the gift of presence.
We ask that when we're distracted and unfocused, we will be mindful of where our attention and emotions are, and we'll remember to recenter and return to the present.
We pray that we will be guided and supported in our resolve to detach from thought patterns and behaviors that don't serve our current needs and circumstances.
We will that we will be emboldened to stay present when we face the toughest challenges. And when we feel we're falling in our attempt to tame our busy minds, to keep coming back to grounding ourselves in the present moment.
And this week, as we consider the importance of presence for establishing our grounding for the year ahead, the Global Healing Response theme for this year and quarter, we suggest holding as our main intention. We will that we will receive deep insight into what it means to be present, and through such insight and our lived experience, resolve whenever we become distracted to anchor ourselves in the present. Please join us in holding this.
Before we go, just to mention that you can find out more about this quarter's theme for GHR on the Global Healing Response website, and we'll put the link in the show notes. And also, before we close, let's return to ask ourselves the same question we began with. What's true right now? You're listening to these words. There's air moving in and out of your body. Whatever happened before this moment is gone. Whatever comes next, it's not here yet. All that exists is the razor-thin, precious present. The question is, are you here for it? As Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, there is no need to run, strive, search, or struggle. Just be. Just being in the moment, in this place, is the deepest practice of meditation. You don't have to go anywhere. You're already here. The practice is simply to notice, to feel, to come home to this moment.
And with that simple, radical presence, we will find ourselves more grounded, more steady, more able to meet whatever comes. Not because presence solves our problems, but because it places us firmly in the only ground that actually exists, now. Thank you for being present with us, which you will be if you've stayed with us this far, and a very happy, inspiring, purposeful, and grounded year to come.
That about wraps it up for this episode. Remember, you can connect with us in the Facebook group and for live intention holding in Clive's daily Insight Timer offerings, and with me in the Labyrinth Activist Network's Zoom calls. Details of how to hook up with these are in our show notes. Look out, too, for our next special topic episode, which we'll be releasing in the next few days. Thank you for listening and for sharing with us in holding intentions. We look forward to connecting again next time. And in the meantime,
thank you, go well, stay safe.
And remember, we're more powerful together.
Impact is presented by Ellen Binns and Clive Johnson and produced by Impact Productions. Our theme music is by Chris Collins and our logo artwork is by Auto Classic. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible or your favorite podcast provider. We're a non-commercial podcast dedicated to people of any faith tradition or none who yearn for healing in our troubled world. Please pass on the word so others may join us in making an impact. Thank you for listening.